my new friend that I just met last night, Mr. Richard Oldfield. Hobby. So how you guys, so you guys must know, because I noticed when you guys got on the stage and started talking, did you guys know each other back then? The film was being made?
Yeah. Well, we bumped into each other from time to time. We were in the sort of same age group, same sort of circles of films and things.
Well, you guys were like, what, mid-20s probably back then?
Late 20s. Late 20s. When I did Star Wars, I was 13.
Oh, you all cousins were younger. You look great. You look great now.
But yeah, I was just reminding Richard that I was aware of him well before we actually met. He was in an amazing play called Kennedy's Children in London in the mid or early 70s. And I went to see the play at King's Head in Islington, which is sort of northwest area of London. And Richard played the Vietnam veteran. Just gave an amazing performance. And there I saw him again at Elstree when we were doing the filming. I was on for 4 weeks, but I was only expecting to do 2 days' work. Was that similar to your story?
Same. It was sort of very, very on-off production. I don't know how much it is true. The Empire Strikes Back was originally not financed by the studios, was it?
No.
George Lucas had to get independent financing kind of in the beginning as it went along. And it was very soft-start. For the amount that I had to do in the film, I think I was there for a week and a half or something like that. But it was, you remember, it was really nice spring weather. In filming, there's always a lot of downtime as usual. There was a lot of goofing around. I don't know if you remember, the main instigators was Mark Hamill.
John Ratzenberger.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, but you know, in the sort of young people did what you did in the 80s back then. Well, you do now anyway, but more legally. But it felt almost like more like an independent production than any big studio thing.
Yeah, and wonderful vibe.
Yeah, really nice vibe. Most of us were in communal changing rooms, and it was just good fun on the set, which isn't always the case in a lot of the films that American productions that a lot of us got put into, be it small parts or small feature parts, or just I think because we were in the equity union to offset some of the Americans coming in, and oftentimes you were cut out of the films. I've been in several Superman films and can only see myself in one, painting a fence.
Which one was that?
I can't remember. One of the Supermans.
Well, Superman 1, 2.
I think it was 2.
That was the one I was in.
What'd you do?
What sense did you paint then?
I was on the moon.
Oh, we were on the moon.
Oh, you were one of the astronauts?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was in the capsule.
Okay, so they attacked the two that were out of the thing, you were in the capsule?
There were 2 extras that were out, on the moon itself. And I was in the capsule, and
When Don picks it up.
Yeah, and I was actually talking to John Ratzenberger down in Houston, and I think Shane Rimmer was with him. I say there's an unidentified flying object, and Ratzenberger said, well, what does it look like? And I said, well, it just looks like a curl. And he says, he leans over to Shane Rimmer and he says, well, what's a curl? They were down in Houston. Quite a funny moment. Sarah Douglas.
John Ratzenberger, of course, is mentioned early, also more famously known as Cliff from Cheers.
Yeah. he was all part of us. Remember Norman Chancellor?
Yes, I do remember Norman.
Now, this was a guy who was a little bit older than us, and he was in Empire Strikes Back with us. But he was a member of this sect called the Rajneeshis, and he adapted his rebel pilot outfit because Rajneeshis had to wear pink. And if you remember, he had this pink scarf tangled around his neck, which gave Dave Tomlin and Steve Lanning fits. That was the first and second assistant because he was out of uniform. And he was saying, "No, this is my flying scarf," and he refused to remove it. So that is one example.
You would not be able to get away with that these days.
No, that's one example of what Richard's talking about being in the 70s.
Yeah, it was, and when you shot the films of the snow speeders, I mean, also there were like two stagehands with brooms, broom handles, rocking I seem to remember a tennis ball and a stick with a blue screen for your eye line, but very, very low tech, and you have to give it. In watching the film back to the technicians, the craftsmen that made this stuff out of next to nothing.
Yeah, the electricians who were rocking the thing sideways were beefy guys that were kind of moving this thing for us. But the forward and backward motion, if you remember, was a forklift.
Oh yeah.
That was terribly noisy. That was chained, and it was kind of going. And so the noise level was just absolute crazy, which is why, of course, all of us were dubbed at the end of the day. But,
Were you dubbed with somebody else's voice, or were you able to come back and do your own radio?
no, because all of the post-production work was done in LA. So, Hammond was the only guy who had his real voice. However, I can say that I dubbed myself on Superman 2 because they did the movie Superman 2 at Twickenham Studios, I think it was. And I happened to be available when they called. They called my agent. And I wasn't doing anything that particular week or day. I can't remember if it was one day. So I was able to dub my own voice because they captured the voice while sound instances like that. And that was wonderful because that was the opportunity I had to meet Chris Reed, who was there doing the looping for his parts that particular day. And he was just the nicest guy. I mean, he was real.
And so back to the painting. You were painting in Superman 2? What did we got here? Okay.
Painting the fence, I can't remember. I mean, a bunch of us, when the American productions came over to the UK in the 80s, with a lot of them, you got called up for almost all of them. I mean, and it was a good gig because gig. Do you call it gig here? Good.
We call it gig. Yeah.
Okay. Good job, because most of us who did a lot of theater work and things like that was very badly paid, and if you're sort of a jobbing actor, which a lot of us were, it kind of subsidized your other work. Even though sometimes
because there was so much work, there was only 5 John Mortons there, so you were always guaranteed, getting work. So we were all very close.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to, New York, what I found when I went to New York, there were 100 John Mortons, and so the odds of getting work was not quite as good as it was in the UK.
No, I feel sorry for actors these days. We had it actually quite lucky. I did everything from commercials to theater to bits of movies, and it's just so lucky to be able to get work over the years to actually earn a living at it.
What was your first part?
In Hair, in a musical.
Yeah. On stage movie.
On the stage. This was in the late 60s. Hair. It's the dawning of straight out of drama school, and I think it was because it was with Oliver Tobias. I don't even remember Oliver Tobias. Because it was the first nude scene in British theatre. Okay, and I think they were having trouble getting actors who were willing to stand there nude. But I went to a quite progressive drama school, East 15th.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, Joe Littlewood, theater workshop stuff, so that was my first job, and from then on, apart from all the film credits, I've done some very bad films. I mean,
Okay,
very bad.
Don't say Empire Strikes Back.
No. I was the love interest in Awareness of Emily, you know that one with Goose Stark?
Oh, you were.
That infamous, yes, that first one, that while she was, which was, I guess you
I met her at that German
convention. We were both there in Germany, in Düsseldorf, yeah.
Yeah, she was tight with Anthony Forrest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But that's how you and I met, was through Anthony Forrest in Germany.
Yeah.
Anthony Forrest is the sand trooper, these are the droids we're looking for, and he was also the lead scenes, the famous lead scenes. He's a great guy.
Yeah, hilarious.
yeah.
I met him on A Bridge Too Far. That was, and friends ever since.
Can you go back to the booth and get the magazine that I have? Okay. He's the guy, I got an Anthony Forrest story. He's gonna go get something. But anyway, sorry.
In terms of films and sci-fi, I think a really bad ones like Life Force. You don't remember that with the space vampires, Life Force?
No, what is this
Remember
one?
Life Force?
No, I didn't.
Classic. It's a classic. Yeah.
This guy knows.
There's a couple of the omens got eaten by dogs in Omen 4.
You got eaten by the dog.
Even in Omen 4, it's just all the bits of work. The most money I ever made in my acting career was the Lifebuoy soap commercial. I was a Lifebuoy soap guy. They got syndicated all through Europe and everything else. The residuals for that, that was my most prolific moments of my career.
Well, wouldn't you say playing a hobby?
Oh, hobby
Is the biggest
definitely. I didn't even.
Can you give us the line?
What, 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer?
I know, isn't that crazy? Who would do that? Who would think that?
Who would think that? No, it's been voted, I was very slow in coming on the convention scene. So I thought it was like money for old road. I didn't know it would be normal people. I actually, well, no, seriously. I thought, about 7, 8 years ago, my daughter said that if you Google the first 3 words of that line, the scene comes up on YouTube. And it still does today. If you Google 2 fighters against, the scene comes up.
Sure.
That's ridiculous. But I also read on the internet it was voted the worst line in Star Wars. But also,
Because technically it was wrong, because 2 fighters against a Star Destroyer actually did work. They did it with the eye. But because they had the eye cannon, they didn't know about that.
yeah, they said because it was a stupid line. And although other people said it was a really iconic line. But it's, when you do these jobs, it's a sort of small bit in my long, illustrious career. You know what I mean? That means I get to come to these places and meet all you guys and travel around a bit and have something to do after I've retired. And it's great. But
It's a prophetic line, because you know why it's called a Star Destroyer, right? It's called a Star Destroyer because it's powerful enough to suppress a star system to go after an entire. It's a big deal of presenting 2 fighters. Maybe it's not a good idea, but I guess it worked. We only worked once.
I've got a couple of things that tie together some of the points. In my instance, there were 2 films that I was in where I never ended up on the screen. One was Folks with Roger Moore, and all of the stuff I did there for decided not to use. And the other was in The Shining. I did 2 weeks work in The Shining. And why that's relevant to Hoth is the snow that was in Hoth, that was all, throughout where they had the Millennium Falcon, and the interiors where Richard and I had our scenes mustering in the snow speeders. The snow was Imperial Chemicals Industries, ICI's dendritic salt. And they had bags of this dendritic salt all over the place. And I have to say that it was lethal because with the Klieg lights and everything on it, that would heat the salt, the snow, it would evaporate and get in the air. And so all of us, or a lot of us, had headaches. And so some of the time that I would spend was not standing around just to get out. So I went to my dressing room, which was in an adjacent building, and sat it out until I had to go and do whatever I was doing. But at the end of the shooting, the Hoth scenes, they swept up all this dendritic salt, and Stanley Kubrick was doing The Shining at the same time. So all that dendritic salt, Kubrick's production company bought, and the scene that I had with Scatman Crothers in the Colorado interstate during a blizzard was shot at an airstrip near Ellis Tree, about 2 or 3 miles away from the studio. And all that salt was spread out, in the open, to make like it was a blizzard, in the Colorado's, interstate, where Scatman is driving the car and he's saying, I want to get through, and the Colorado State Troopers were saying, no, you're going to have to take a detour, and I was one of the troopers in the scene that I had with Scatman. Kubrick decided not to use, and did something else with it. But that's Hoth salt, that Hoth snow.
I don't know, I just wanted to bring this up when you were talking about Anthony Forrest earlier today. Can you zoom in with that camera? So I bought this, Life magazine used to be a big deal back in the day, and now they just come out with, every once in a while they come out with publications on a certain thing. This was about the making of Star Wars. So I got this, and I'm reading it, and here on the second page, they show this picture. Can you zoom in like on this?
It zoomed into the most I can.
Okay, I'll just describe it. So it's this famous picture in the on the street of Mos Eisley. You got Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Sand Trooper, and Luke, and it says Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mark Hamill, and an unidentified stormtrooper without his helmet. That's like, poor Anthony Forrest, unidentified. So the reason I brought this up is I want to make sure, now that I saw this, I'm going to bring this to Kentucky, and maybe you guys can help me, to Kentucky and Josh, and say, we need to get Anthony Forrest here next year. Because that's just like, I thought that was rude. Unidentified. His face is right there. Look at him. Yeah. Unbelievable. So I stopped reading the magazine, I put it down. So they don't know anything about Star Wars, and they're going to say that's unidentified. But he's a great guy. And he's
a bit of trivia about Anthony Forrest. He was a student in Toronto, was it Montreal, when John Lennon and Yoko Ono had their love-in for peace, and Anthony was able to get in pretending to be a student journalist and participated in all of that. So if you look back at some of the still footage that's on the internet, you'll see Anthony Forrest as a young man, as a student.
He was like 19 or something like that.
Yeah, he was in university.
I've always thought you should bring that to him when he does signings.
Yeah.
To autograph. He's got it's him, John Lennon, and Yoko Ono on bed. He's just sitting there.
Yeah. That is true history.
That is, yes.
But, we're going to have it open up for you guys. Do you guys have questions? Look, they're all scared. They get scared. There we go.
Do you guys take anything home with you, like props or anything like that?
No, it's kind of verboten, although Paul Blake said he's got the gun, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I was too stupid to think ahead.
I know, same.
Richard's absolutely right. In England, in those days at least, it was free and easy in some ways, but no, that was just not done.
You weren't supposed to do it. The prop guys, it's not. there's sort of a code in the acting thing. You're not supposed to walk off this stuff unless you would ask them, something.
Lauren Peterson, one of the model makers in the panel yesterday, he was talking about how they had to make a plea to the guys who work on the sets, the actors and the stage people, that stop stealing stuff. We only got one or two of these left. They'd have like a bottle or something, and it's like 6 of them. And they took 4 of them. It's like, we got 2 left. That's it. The production's going to stop if you don't stop stealing these things.
Yeah, I mean, even with Empire Strikes Back, they knew it was going to be, smash hit, not unlike the first one with New Hope, where it was not taken seriously at all by the Brits. The idea of people wanting to be part of Star Wars hadn't really hit, even in the second one. Although I do remember when Treat Williams showed up, just to kind of witness what was going on. He said, "Gee, you guys are having so much fun doing this. I'd like to, wish I could be a part." And somebody said, "Well, come on back tomorrow and we'll put you in an outfit." I think you played a stormtrooper or something. So Treat did 2 uncredited, appearances. But I remember him just being so excited by him.
He was a good guy. He just passed a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Terrible accident.
Whereas nowadays, everybody's, I have to be honest, I suppose this is heresy. Star Wars was just another job. Even though I knew it was a big one. And Mark Hamill said, "Hey, this is going to be around for a long time. George's got plans for 9 films." But I didn't come into it saying, "I got to be in Star Wars now." Anybody, whether they're a crew member or an actor, the idea that they could be doing something in Star Wars now, is to die for. It wasn't like that at all.
No, it wasn't. It was just one of the jobs that comes along.
I interviewed John Messenger, maybe earlier, we were talking earlier. He said he doesn't really remember much about Star Wars because it was so quick. He just went from Superman to Star Wars to Rocky Horror, whatever it was.
Yeah, John was quite a guy.
Did you have a question?
No, there's a photo of Treat with Carrie. He's a Hoth trooper, like decked out like in the submarine Hoth basically.
Okay, yeah.
Did we ask him? I don't remember. Okay, so he did both. You're saying he did a Rebel and
I think you're right because I couldn't remember what.
Do we actually see her on screen?
I don't know, but because the photo, I think may have surfaced right after he died. I think that because it's a
Well, there's a lot of guys that did the Rebel Troopers and then, go to the Soul Trooper
I don't
outfit.
know, I just know that there is a photo that exists probably of him and Carrie.
Yeah, because he was there to see Carrie and Harrison. He was in town. Maybe they were shooting here in England. I can't remember. But he was in town for some job, and he was friends with Carrie and Harrison. And they said, "Yeah, come on out and see what we're doing." And he did. And I remember him. They were coming off of the Millennium Falcon, Harrison, and he was just so excited. He said, "This is so neat. I'd love to be a part of it." And they said, "Well, come on back tomorrow. We'll put you in a uniform." And I think he came back for 2 days.
But we don't see it.
I remember it.
But this reminds me of a question. This just came out recently. In your scene, when you say that 2 fighters in Star Destroyer, behind you is the Millennium. Behind you is a couple pilots. Behind them is the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And behind that, on the Millennium Falcon, is a person that's dressed like Han Solo. Do we know if that's Harrison Ford or not?
No, I don't think it is. I have no idea if it was at all.
But it's clear. It's supposed to be Han working on the Falcon, and he stops to listen to Carrie Fisher, to listen to Princess Leia talk. And the question is that really Harrison Ford? Probably not.
Probably not. I never. He wasn't involved in that. I never bumped into him at all. So I don't think so.
It was going around the internet. I've seen it before. I never really realized it was Han Solo. But
Well, I remember.
but if you look at it closely, you zoom in on it.
I remember
with his classic soliloquy that he has with the two Star Destroyers,
Couldn't.
two starfighters, you can see behind him a little tiny person, and it's clearly wearing Han Solo's costume. The question is,
Could
is
it?
it or not?
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well. I don't think he'd do that.
No.
Too much fun. Do we have another question from the audience? Don't be scared. Don't be shy.
Do you notice any differences in like production quality, things that worked better back then versus now, or the other way?
Well, kind of, if I can, I think it's come a bit full circle. I wasn't that impressed with it. Well, not impressed. They were likable to watch, but when the CGI sort of took over from the animatronics that were in the first few films, where you actually had a real person play inside a creature, as opposed to a computer animated person. The actor had someone to play against, even though they were in a costume, and that got a bit lost when the big CGI took over it, because it was, I don't know, it's cheaper to use the CGI monsters than have an actor, have a creature artist in a costume. But it seems now to have come back a little bit full circle. You know, BB-8, the sort of round robot. That's Joel, I forget his name. A puppeteer. Yeah, puppeteer.
I'm pretty good with Star Wars knowledge, but this guy's...
Ryan Harrigan, that's right.
Oh, wow, you got it.
Yeah, with two sticks and controlling. He's all in green or blue. He's taken out of the picture, but he's actually communicating with Rey in real time in the film as they're acting, which is in the squeaks and things like, which is much different than having to do it to the assistant stage manager reading the script. Do you know what I mean? And you get a bit more realism in the emotional contact between the characters, which has come back a bit. And so I think that was lost a bit, and then it seems to have come back a bit to a degree.
Any other questions from the audience?
Specific provision. There was a book series, which is called the X-Men series, that was the late 90s.
Mike Stackpole.
Stackpole.
Very good. You're on it, John.
Yeah, it was Stackpole done like the first like 6, and they're all like last 3. Hobby becomes a major character. Were you ever aware that it was like, your character has survived? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I thought I died. Yeah, yes, I was aware, and I'm still waiting for Disney to call me and maybe say come back. But yeah, no, I know. It's Hobby lived.
If they were to do like prequel, say they were doing a series of older X-Men, would you be okay with it as they use it in person?
Oh yeah. I mean, look, they pay me some money. No, they won't. You should sign away all the rights when you made that film to any commercial.
Does Hobby survive the Battle of Hoth? I thought he did. We don't see him die.
Oh, he's old, because it's supposed to take place after.
They did the X-Men series 6 weeks
It's
after.
assumed that I cried. There's a scene with me screaming. Depends which. I was in Denmark at a con 3-4 months ago, which was just the Trilogy films, the one sci-fi con in Holland, and they showed a special edition film of it, and there was much more of the Battle of Hoth scenes in it. And depends which version of the film you see, to how much I'm actually in it. It does go on a bit, so I don't blame him for cutting it a bit, but yeah.
John, I'm impressed with your Star Wars knowledge. You're like him. Stackpole.
Yeah, I used to write for StarWars.com. So, yeah, I mean, it's the journalist in me.
You've also written a couple books too, right? You've written.
Yeah, 4. One's on Duke Ellington, which I hopeful will be made into a film someday.
What's it called? What's the development called?
It's called Backstory in Blue. It's about Ellinger's performance at the Newport Jazz Festival in 1956.
You've also written some books for the government, right? No, it's pretty heavy. You're a bright guy. Oh, we all used to be able to do something better, yeah. You gonna write a book there, Richard?
Oh yeah, I'm working on it now. Yeah.
Oh, you are?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I know. Why
No,
not?
I'm house husband now. I'm retired. So I keep my wife working, so I do the cooking and walk the dog. And these things pay for good holidays. I do bruises everywhere. I've just come back from the Italian Alps hiking, which I shouldn't be doing at my age, but use it or lose it, I guess. But
Yeah, you gotta keep going.
yeah, you gotta keep going. You gotta keep at it.
Here in Hayward's Heath, we're not
Portion.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside west side. Yeah, south.
Where's that in regards to
It's south of London, halfway to the coast, sort of. It's in rural.
Beautiful part of the world.
Down by Hastings?
Lived in London for years and years, but moved about 20 years ago. Moved out to the sticks.
Do you have any other questions from the audience? Okay, so I got a bunch more. One more question I always like to ask, you know, we also all big Star Wars fans. What's your favorite movie? John, I'll start with you. Favorite
Movie or favorite Star Wars?
Okay, we'll do both. Favorite Star Wars movie.
Favorite Star Wars is definitely Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's gonna be obvious. Yeah.
You know, favorite movie, I gotta say Casablanca.
Casablanca. You want to talk a little about that? What makes it? Humphrey Bogart. It's fantastic. In it.
Just amazing acting, amazing script. Just so powerful. You can see the shots of Ingrid Bergman when she was all in all her glory. Just a wit about it. There's a wonderful quote that Gene Harmans wrote, who was the New York Times critic in Hollywood some years ago, called Counting on the Usual Suspects. It gives the backstory of the making of Casablanca. If anybody's into Casablanca movie, I highly recommend that book. It's glorious.
Richard, do you have a favorite movie?
Well, my favorite Star Wars film, apart from Empire Strikes Back, is probably one of the newer ones, was Rogue One.
Rogue One was great.
Yeah, which I thought, I just, it kind of expanded that Rebel group, and there would have been other groups doing the same sort of thing, you know, and I just love the way they killed them all off in the end. No, they should always do that. That was a really good one.
It was a shock. No one was expecting it.
No, I know.
Maybe one of them, maybe even two of them, but not all.
I thought that was one of the better ones. 'Cause I'm not critical of all the new Star Wars stuff. It's some are better than others. I think.
That's a nice political way of saying it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was talking. The guy came to the stand earlier today. Who was a psychology person. We're trying to figure out what why you all are still coming to these things 45 years later. What was it about the early Star Wars films that left such an impression on you? And it doesn't happen in a lot of films. I'm trying to think of what other film left. I mean, I agree, Casablanca. I remember there's not that many that really stick. Something like Jaws, sort of. Great. I like Jaws. I thought that was a great iconic film.
It just had its 50th anniversary last month.
Yeah, and I'm a Richard Dreyfuss fan anyway. So he came to getting his children. He took us all out to dinner. After it transferred to the West End, he came and it's really really is something that's written down, by the way.
This was a great play.
Well, it was the only thing that I got a nomination and stuff like that. If you're an actor, if you can have even just one performance that gets you recognized, that you get good reviews, do you know what I mean? It sort of makes your career, because a lot of us were just jobbing actors that just did lots of it. We're never going to be big stars or anything like that, but you made a living out of it. If you can get one, at least one recognition for something you've done, you know,
Star Wars is not bad.
critically, well, Star Wars is good, but you know, something like where you get a nomination for an award or something like that, which is really good. Wouldn't get that for a hobby, I don't think, but yeah, it's a weird thing. This I don't know. I remember the first Star Wars film. The thing that struck me the most was the credits, the coming forward credits. Never seen anything like that before. And the little the spaceships coming, you know, and this was before I got cast in Empire Strikes Back. It left such an impression on me. It was like nothing else. I've not seen anything like that. And I think the other thing, that popularity of it, Lucas was very clever. He made the whole Star Wars thing more like a Western than a classic sci-fi film. And I think it appealed to a much broader base, because you had all the key characters of the good guy, bad guy, damsel in distress, the bounty hunter, the whole ball of wax in that type of genre of film. And I think it took it away from just the sci-fi nature of it, which I think was the studios, from what I gathered, it's the studios worried about doing more of this because they thought there was too limited a market for pure sci-fi. But it wasn't pure sci-fi, it was sci-fi, but it was much
People comparing Star Trek to Star Wars. Star Trek is science fiction. Star Wars has often been referred to as a space opera. Take a little bit more of an intellectual Lucas was very, very taken with Joseph Campbell and the hero with 1,000 faces. And for anybody that's inclined, it's worth checking that out. And also the interviews that Campbell did with Bill Moyers some years ago, decades ago, when they got on PBS indeed. You know, he synthesized all the great mythos stories worldwide to come up with this idea of Star Wars. And I can tell you that I had lunch with Mark Hamill almost every day. Our schedule pretty much the same. Basically, David Krause and Jones. But Mark was a great observer of what was going on. And there was an aspect to this reality of force, which I get into with people at these conventions on my table. The force is real in many ways. So Gary Kurtz, if anybody remembers who he is or was the executive producer. And Gary and George had this sort of, relationship at that period where they were discussing a lot of the meaning behind what was going on. And Kurtz, if you remember the pictures of him in those days, he had this funny sort of beard with no mustache. Yeah, but Mark's take on was 5 minutes. Mark's take on he was either Buddhist or Quaker. And he was very concerned, and Lucas to a certain extent was in the same boat. The Star Wars was not going to glorify violence. So there was a spiritual dimension that comes in on all of this Joseph Campbell stuff. And I think that has a lot to do with the appeal. So going a little deeper deeper than what we really think. Most of us are talk about production values and what have you, but I think there's a lot behind it that sustains from generation to generation. There's an honesty about Star Wars in the themes and what have you, as Richard was alluding to. The honesty carried over to the way we were all treated on the set. We were looked after very well. We were paid well. I'll never forget the tea lady who was at the bottom of the totem pole in the pecking order of film sets. And she was a woman in their late 50s, early 60s. And she was so upbeat and she loved it all. And she'd come around and, she was pushing her tea caddy around the soundstage. Oh, hello, darling. All right, then. Just marvelous. Just terrific. And she was, for somebody at that level, it's sort of like the guy sweeping up the camel down in the circus. Right the bottom, but so enthusiastic. And what produced that was the honesty of Gary Kurtz and George Lucas and the inspiration behind it. Man, the force is real. I've not met anybody, almost I can say, as either a fan or as somebody who worked on the film who was a jerk. I mean, Star Wars brings out the best of all of us.
I think that's a great sentiment.
That's right. I think that's probably a good point to end on. I want to thank both of you guys for coming here. You guys are going to be here for the rest of the week, right?
Yes.
I'm out of Dodge as soon as I get off the stage.
Oh, you're right outside here?
Yeah, no, I was with Lindsay last night.
Oh, my mistakes. I got to pay attention to your staff members. But John, I want to thank you for coming here anyway. It's great to see you, Richard. Nice to see you too. We'll see you in the autograph as well.